So I want to hop on here and chat about collections. And I've had a few people ask me, how do you get into collecting? What do you collect? Why do you find it interesting? What's so valuable about it? Now, collecting's not for everybody, but you can be a collector of literally anything. You can collect nails. You can collect beer signs like I do. You can collect Godzilla figurines like some people who are into that movie stuff do. It does not matter, and no one can judge you for what you collect, what you have preference in, what you enjoy collecting, what you enjoy buying, because at the end of the day, it's your money, your choice, your decision, your preference. You have the control and the power to do whatever you want with your collection, and that's the joy of it. It's the thrill of, oh, I can purchase whatever I want, how I want, what I want. The one thing that I find interesting about collecting, what I found interesting, was the thrill of the hunt. It gives me a shot of excitement, like, all right, I'm gonna hop in this store, I'm gonna go find every single beer sign and stein and mug that I can find that I like personally. I'm gonna buy it. And that's where the thrill of collecting comes in, for me at least. But at the end of the day, it's all about personal preference, and you can control that. It's a controllable hobby, right? Whereas opposed to something that's, illicit use of drugs, it's, you're controlled by the substance. You're not controlled by the content or what you prefer or desire. And how I got into collecting was I literally had 2 plastic cups from Target in my apartment 2 years ago, and I needed some glasses. I need something to spice up my cabinet. I want some, cool glasses with some designs on them. So I went to Goodwill, and Goodwill is known for having crap stuff. It's not anything special. It's just kind of like dumpster diving almost to some people. But to me, I found that to be the greatest platform to jump into collecting there ever would be. So I went to Goodwill the one year, and I went there and I shopped around the glass section, and I found maybe 10 or 12 mugs I bought on the spot. Some of the coolest ones I have, actually. They're the original ones that I bought 2 years ago almost now. And so that was how the collection started. For me personally, it was kind of overkill. I got whiff of the collecting fever, if you will, and I literally went every single weekend. You can ask my girlfriend, you can ask my friends. I was always at Goodwill, and it was almost an obsession at some point. And it got to the point where I had so many mugs in my collection that I didn't have enough space to put them. I was interested in beer mugs, so mugs that had beer logos on them, Coors Light, Miller Lite, Molson, companies like that. I was looking for specific mugs. I got to the point where I wanted to have duplicates or pairs of each glass. That's kind of how I started to grow my collection. And this is the point where I was like, okay, well, I can't collect more beer mugs, so I don't have space for it. Let me start collecting beer signs. And so I went to an antique store about 40 minutes away from me, and I found a vendor there who was selling all these beer signs. And the first one I bought was this Labatt sign. So Labatt's a Canadian beer that it's very popular in hockey games. You see it all over the place. Philadelphia Flyers have them everywhere. The first one I bought, I brought it back home, and that was initially when I realized that I had a real problem of addicting sign collecting syndrome. And I went in there the next week and bought all the other signs the guy had in his booth. So after the original trip to the one antique store, I started going to different antique stores to check out what they had in terms of signs. And the one I went to originally, the first store I went to, their prices to this day are like second to none. Their pricing is very fair, really good discounts throughout the store on a consistent basis. They're just the top-notch antique store. That's why I base that's like S tier. It's top of the line for me for antique stores. Now, the frustrating part about this whole thing was that I didn't have like a direction I wanted to go. And then I started getting into the bigger fish to fry. This became an antique hunt obsession. I've been really fortunate to find a lot of really good deals at Goodwill and at these antique stores, because a lot of the antique stores I go to will have different vendors who have like sales or percentages off of what they have for sale. And that's kind of where I get that, really big deal or big steal, or I like to call them snags. With that being said, that kind of brought in a new era of collecting for me. I got from the beer glasses from Goodwill to the beer signs and then steins I found at the antique stores. It got to the point where I had a lot of like standalone like mirrors or signs, like beer related ones, and I started looking at neon signs. Neons are more expensive. They're a higher price point to get into the market with. They're mostly more collectible because of the design or the style or brand they represent. Like a Hamm's beer sign, which most of you may not know of. Hamm's was a beer from the 1960s and 70s. It's very, very prevalent in the West Coast, central United States. And those signs, the light up ones, the neons, the diorama ones, go for thousands of dollars, as opposed to like a Coors Light neon sign that $150. But a lot of people that I know or I have met have asked me before. They're like, well, what about those those LED signs? Don't touch the LEDs, because the LED lights they're from China. They're crap. They're worth nothing. You can buy them on Amazon for like $60, but they won't get you anywhere, right? They're the USB port plugins. They're not American. I mean, that's what it comes down to. So when I look at signs, I'll see these, neon, like the old fluorescent neons are the ones that are worth the most. The old ones can go up to $300 a pop. Like the old Budweiser ones are worth a fair amount. With the old like fluorescent neon tubes, they're worth a lot of money. And then the newer neons are electric, but they have like fluorescent neon in them. So you've got to kind of pick and choose what you want with the neon specifically. That's kind of how I became more obsessed with those neons specifically. But one thing I like to tell every person that starts a collection or starts looking at something specific they're interested in is you have to do your research. It's a non-negotiable at this point. Like, you have to know what the value you're looking for the item is. You want to know how much you want to spend on said item, and you need to know how much you're willing to spend if it's over your price point. So let's say, for example, I see a Miller Lite sign. It's a backlit sign. They go for about $110. I see it for $60, but I want to spend $40. Do I buy it? I would, because you're only paying $20 more for a sign. So what's $20 to you? It's what, a tank of gas, a quarter tank of gas, whatever. And then the outcome is that sign is being sold top of the market for $120. So you think, okay, $120, I'd buy it for $60. It's half off technically from what they're asking for it, and I wanted to spend $40. I could live with that. With me personally, I like to buy things that will appreciate in value or go up in value. Beer signs are always going to be items that I enjoy collecting because they have that value or historical aspect to them. Simply because they just have a really good history. I'll kind of end this whole segment with just saying that I am very proud and happy with what my collection has grown to be, and I'm excited to see how it grows and becomes. My goal at the end of this whole thing is to have a man cave, a whole basement dedicated to what I have collected, signs, steins, everything. Have a whole bar, a full working bar. That's the goal one day. But to wrap this whole thing up, I just wanted to say that collecting is a very important hobby. It keeps you busy, keeps you healthy, keeps you active. Also comes with its risks, right? You're going to spend money, right? Make sure you have the budget to put into something the way you want to put into it, rather than just jumping into it and just flopping and wasting money on stuff. This is kind of like the part one of my, Q&A, guide to be a collector segment series. I'm going to try to post more of these here more frequently to kind of answer questions that people might comment about or what have you. But I want to make sure that everyone has a very clear, concise idea of how collecting works and how it worked for me and how I continue to make it work moving forward. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the flip side. We'll see you.